Could Chelsea be stealing Mudryk right from underneath Arsenal's noses? It looks to be that way. Let's see what the transfer news coming up for you is. So now, Charles Watts has reported that Shakhtar are not going to be backing down over Mudryk, and they are willing to postpone talks until the summer if the £88 million valuation for the player is not met. Now, Chelsea have come out of the woodwork. They've been keeping an eye on what's going on with Arsenal. We know the player had agreed terms with a 5-year deal between himself and the club. However, the two clubs in Shakhtar and Arsenal are just not making headway at the moment with this valuation. Chelsea have been lurking, and it looks now that they are about to pounce. They're in active talks to make things even more complicated for Arsenal. But as I mentioned, Shakhtar have said that they may even hold out to sell Mudryk until the summer. They are in absolutely no rush. But on the contrary, Arsenal could be, and maybe should be, actually in a rush to get this deal over the line. You saw yesterday in that game against Newcastle, the bench at Arsenal. Now, there's about 15 players that I believe Mikel Arteta and Arsenal can rely upon. And when everyone's fully fit and you've got the bench, you're looking at the likes of Nketiah, you're looking at Smith Rowe there as well, Vieira. But game-changing players, when there are injuries, it leaves them a little bit short. So I think Arsenal are desperate to do something in this transfer window. They are in the best position. They are 8 points clear at the top of the table. And if they want to keep that gap and capitalise on this gigantic season that they are having, they are going to need to do some business in January. I think it is pretty pivotal. Arsenal fans, let me know your thoughts on that, because I think you definitely need to have more strength in depth over the course of a season. When you pick up injuries and there's fatigue, what you need is to be able to look to your bench and see that you have a strong enough squad to help you through those games. Game-changing players that can come on and do something in the last 20 minutes if you're flailing a little bit. Now, if Arsenal do not meet the valuation, that would be a really big blow. Do they have other targets? Who else are Arsenal looking at? Because all the transfers that we're hearing at the moment is João Felix potentially or Mudryk. So they need to do something in January. And I genuinely believe Arsenal need to have another type of striker that can come on and do something for them. But will they step up and pay what they need to pay? We've seen that the owners have backed Arsenal. We saw that in last summer, we saw that not last January, and that's probably the difference of Arsenal missing out on getting the top four and kind of flailing off at the end of the season. But they were heavily backed in the summer, and we can see the progress that that's really made to the Arsenal squad and to Mikel Arteta. But this is the time to capitalise and really go for the jugular. You know, City are going to be lurking. We know just what Manchester City can kind of do in this title run-in. And I believe they're actually at the same point stage that they were last year. And then, of course, they went on that massive unbeaten run and went on to win the title. But Arsenal are in the driving seat, and that's why they have to have reinforcements. Would Arsenal fans be unhappy, though, if you didn't invest? I want to know your thoughts on that, because if you didn't, you've got the same squad, but are you taking a risk on injuries? Are you taking a risk on fatigue? Are you just trying to muddle through with what you've got and get yourself over the line rather than get reinforcements? Now, I genuinely believe that Arsenal fans, anyone that I talk to, especially in this building, would most definitely want reinforcements, because that is what's going to help you get over the line. And in terms of Mudryk, he's already agreed those contract terms with Arsenal on a personal note. Does he need to be making up a fuss? Does he need to submit a transfer request? It doesn't always look good for a player, in my opinion, when they go and do that. It depends how much he wants to move to Arsenal. Or is this just a game that Shakhtar are playing to try and bring Arsenal out, have these talks with Chelsea, kind of get them to up their game and think they're going to lose the player if they don't meet the valuation? There's all these dirty tactics that do go on behind the scenes and with the agents and with the club. So if I was Arsenal, I think that he's a must buy. I think that you also need to be looking at one other type of player as well, perhaps someone to either strengthen your midfield or another out and out striker to get you over the line. But I really do think that this is a very pivotal point for Arsenal. If you go through this month and do not make significant transfers and improve the squad, I think that you could be in trouble in this title charge. Another player that Arsenal are looking at is João Felix. Now, Thomas Partey used to play with him, and he has been in contact, apparently, with the Portuguese star about getting him to join the Gunners over Manchester United. There is nothing concrete on that at the minute, but it's something that we should keep our eyes on in case Manchester United call their interest in the player, in case Mudryk doesn't come through. That is one that Arsenal could also benefit from signing, whether it's João Felix or Mudryk. I think either player would really benefit Arsenal and would actually help you in bolstering that squad. But of course, once Gabriel Jesus comes back, Emil Smith Rowe is back from injury as well, you would have a better bench than what we were seeing in the game against Newcastle. In other news, Enzo Fernandez still rumbles on. Gary Neville had his say on that, saying the amount of money, £112 million for Enzo Fernandez, is absolutely wild and it's eye-watering. He doesn't have the pedigree to match that type of fee. And in my opinion, I kind of agree. I mean, this is a player that we know has talent, but we've only really seen him pop up in the last 6 months. He did have a good tournament with Argentina, but £112 million, a Premier League world record for this type of player that we haven't seen proven. I said it yesterday in the video. I always prefer to buy players that we know that are proven across Europe, proven in the Premier League. I think it's always much more helpful when coming in. They don't have to have that kind of time to settle in, which we do see happen with players. Anthony, Darwin Núñez haven't exactly settled in and have come over from high fees. So that is one I do kind of agree with on Gary Neville. I think it's super high. But if Chelsea are going to pay that, then that's fine. But I think that would have been a player who potentially could have fitted in well at Liverpool, needing a new midfielder and someone young kind of to re-vitalize and everything in that midfield. Only other news I can think is West Ham and Tottenham. They are set to scrap it out for Malinovsky. Ruslan Malinovsky, he is from Atalanta. Tottenham were looking at him, I believe, in the summer, but nothing really materialised. He's 29 years old. He has been moved and linked with a move to the Premier League, but he has ended up staying put in Serie A. He's only scored 1 goal in Serie A this season, but top sides are looking at him. Spurs are looking at it for a loan deal. Potentially West Ham will be looking at more of a permanent move, but we'll have to wait and see what's happening there. But aside from that, it rumbles on with Mudryk and it rumbles on with Enzo Fernandez. So we'll keep you posted with all the information that we get on transfers, and it should be exciting. Can Chelsea steal him? Let's wait and see what happens.